right, welcome back, Lions fans. A bit later than we expected to record this week. A bit of a busy weekend for Zach.
The
Something
hills
about
are
having a
alive
family or something. I don't
with
know.
the sound of
Um,
music.
but we're recording here on a Tuesday, Monday night.
Can't even keep track of the days, man. I'm with you.
Well, that happens when you get a busy season of work. So
Yep.
we're back though. Gonna talk a little bit about the Lions here. We went to training camp. That was last week, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday we went to the last day of training camp, and we saw some cool stuff and got to meet some people at the end of the camp and get autographs. So we'll talk a little bit about that to start, and then we'll jump into the.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are like thank the Lions organization, I guess, for the free sunglasses. If you guys say, "Wow, that guy's looking really good today," that's exactly what happened. So, and then we had our second preseason game. We went where my son would say, as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, they headed down to Kansas. To, no, I'm just kidding. They headed down to Arrowhead Stadium and took on the Chiefs, and a very reminiscent score happened there, but just in a different way this time. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then of course we'll get a brief little insert there talking about the other NFC North teams and kind of what happened with the Bears, Vikings, and Packers. Not too much because really don't really care that much. I didn't really watch much of those games. I watched a
Mid.
few. But then we'll jump into a little bit of what we're looking at for our final preseason game at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers this coming week.
Yes, sir.
And that'll wrap us up for this week.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started. But first, like we do at the beginning of every show, a quick shout out to our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Empire Contractors out of Shelby, Michigan. Empire Contractors is a full service roofing company that specializes in liquid applied roof restoration. If you or someone you know needs a commercial roof, check them out at roofsbyempire.com. They're also available on Facebook. Make sure you tell them Lions Banter sent you. All right, let's move right into this, man. So we attended training camp last week, the 14th, like you said, and it was the last one that they
Final
were
day
open
of
to
training
public.
camp.
Yep.
Yep.
And what did you see? What was your take on it? I guess.
Well, it was a bit disappointing. Unfortunately, it seems like we always come in at the wrong time for training camp. The first training camp we attended, going into that one, I think was Kaminsky went down or
Mm-hmm.
someone, and so instead of doing the full scrimmage that they were going to do, they kind of shortened everything down. So we didn't get to see as much the first time.
Yeah, and I think that was also they had their first 2 days of pads of the season, and so we were on that third day
Hmm.
where they were
Hmm.
healing. So
And
yeah.
so the second go around here, we went last week on Wednesday, and it was much better. But we did not get to see a lot of guys because the injury bug was biting pretty hard. Of course, we had Jameer Gibbs coming off that hamstring, and he's going to be rehabbing that basically the rest of the offseason to get ready to go for week one.
Yeah.
We had Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, who both had gone down earlier in the week with injury and were not practicing because of that. Obviously, they're fine too. A lot of these guys are fine. They're just taking days off.
Precautions. It's smart.
We
Yep.
didn't see. I can run down a list. Even we didn't see Carlton Davis. We didn't see Brian Branch. We didn't see Sam Laporta out there.
Yep.
Who else? Who else were we missing? I know there are a few others that we.
Um, was Skip was out there. He got hurt this last game.
Yeah, no.
That might have been really the main ones, honestly.
Yeah, we were missing quite a few, and so that was a bit disappointing not to see them out there. But
Mhm.
I guess it gave us a better look at some of the other guys and what they can do in with the ones.
Yeah.
We got lucky enough that we like to line the fence so that we can get in line for those autographs and make sure we're in a good spot for that at the end of camp.
Oh, giving away our secrets. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody knows that.
I know.
But anyway, we like to line that fence and be up there for the autographs. And this time it worked to our favor because they were having practice on the field closest to us, so we
Yep.
got to see and get our autographs. But there were some observations that each of us had just watching the practices and that, and I think The first and most major one for me was the connection between Jared Goff and Amon Ra, and also Jared Goff and Jamison Williams.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna back up just one step because one thing that, um, and then obviously you can take that one over for sure. But the one thing that stood out to me, like you kind of said, was with the injuries, it was okay, or it was an opportunity for others to step up. Um, the defense for the first few series, absolutely lights out, balling out. Jack Campbell had a pick six. I mean, it was an obvious, even NFL football game pick six.
Pause you there. He did not have a pick six. He did get tackled before he got there
Oh,
because
did
the
he?
second team offense took over with Hendon Hooker, and then they scored.
Oh, they count.
But
Oh,
he
okay,
did have an
okay, okay.
interception with a very nice
Yeah,
return
nice
on it.
return. Okay, that was on the same field, but it was literally like kitty corner from us. I thought he was pick six, but um, the other two that really stood out to me, and one of them I'm gonna say their name, and it's gonna shock anybody who's been watching this show since the start. Kendall Vildor, man, he was balling out in practice. I mean, he was like guarding. I mean, he guarded Amon Ra a few times, and I think he might have broke up a few of those passes even. But the other one that absolutely has me super excited is Amik Robertson. That dude is all over the field and in a good way. I mean, he is like he may become a ball hawk at this point. I mean, he's just all over the place. So, if they play him in the nickel or something, I think he's going to be dangerous. So,
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that I don't. I honestly, Kendall Vildor. People are saying he has a nice camp. I didn't get to see the plays that people were talking about. I must have missed them, or like there was someone in my way and I didn't see who broke up the pass. But I know that he did have a good day. I just didn't see it with my own eyes.
well, the problem is they wouldn't let kids up on shoulders, so he couldn't see over the fence. I tried to hold him up on my shoulders, and they wouldn't let us do it. So, I mean,
Hey. Anyway, I agree with Amik. Amik had an outstanding day. Was all over the field, making all kinds of plays. Up until the point where he did tweak his ankle a little bit,
that was a little
came out.
scary.
He went
Yep.
back in. He did go back in, but you could tell he just wasn't
He
hundred
slowed down.
percent.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
he obviously he's fine. He came out and played in the preseason game, so we're good there.
Yep.
But he impressed me quite a bit. I think Jamison Williams was another one who impressed me a lot. And then one that should surprise no one is Aiden Hutchinson. He had a sack. At least by all means would have been a sack in an NFL game. I don't know if they
Mm-hmm.
count that, but and Dan Campbell's talked about how he's just been lighting it up at camp, and he's been an absolute force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and I think I was a little nervous the way he got up on one of his plays. I actually think it was that would-be sack. I think they let the offense play, and it actually was a completion. But he got up and started walking, and I'm like, oh, dude, I think he like tweaked something or whatever. And Brendan said, "Are you sure? Is that just the Hutch walk?" And if you guys have seen Hutch, you know exactly what we're talking about, the little hip sway thing that he does.
He gets up and
Uh,
he like puts his hands up like this, and then
yep,
he kind of like waddles.
I do believe that's what happened.
Yeah, he does like
So,
the waddle, and you're constantly thinking, oh my gosh, like did he pop a hip out of place or something? Because like, but he's fine. It's Hutch being Hutch, and then he goes back
can't
and
help
goes
it,
full
man.
force.
He can't help it. His milkshake brings all the boys to the
Okay,
yard. So,
okay. Anyway, well, the defense was impressive. We talked about that.
hmm
I think the offense, about midway through, the offense really started to heat up, and Jared Goff was feeling himself.
Ooh,
He
top five
was
quarterback. Ooh,
connecting with Amon Ra consistently. There's nothing the defense could do to stop him.
no,
And then there were, two plays that really, Jamison Williams really flashed. He had a nice, I believe it was a touchdown grab.
was that a touchdown or was that on
No,
that
no, no,
2 point?
no, because there was the touchdown grab, and he had a touchdown grab first.
Okay,
And
okay.
then there was another series where they came down, they scored, and then they went 2 point.
Situational or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they launched Goff launched essentially a fade ball to the corner of the end zone, and Jameson went up with the toe drag swag and hauled that thing in right in the corner. Got up, whipped the ball in the air, ripped his helmet off, and was jabbing at the defense, like yelling. It was awesome to
Did a
see.
dance in the corner for the fans and stuff right there. It was
Yeah.
pretty awesome. So it's just cool, man, because it's like up close and personal. So Anyway, I think you were still going with.
No. I think it was nice to see him make plays like that because it's hard for me to listen to guys like media members who go to things and have to put stock into what they're observing
Mm-hmm.
because there's always everyone regardless what they're seeing nobody is objective about what they're saying. I think
Completely unbiased, you're saying.
everyone has a little bit of a spin on what they think on a player based on what they've seen in the past, and
Right.
I just don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
entirely fair. I think everyone should experience it with their own eyes.
Yeah.
And,
Or like even to build off that, exactly like you're saying, the past or what they hope they'll be in the future. So like it does seem like there are some reporters, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm a reporter. There are people in the media or doing these shows or whatever. I'm one of them that kind of sometimes has to step back because I ride the hype of somebody. You know what I mean? Like, um, I don't have a great example. I guess I would say even Kindle Vildor. Like I saw some of those plays, but to say he had an awesome camp, I can't say that because I didn't see them. But I'm riding that hype, so
yeah.
I can see.
And I think that works the same way. And I'm not. This isn't me coming at you necessarily, but that works a lot. I think for you the same way in the negative hype. Um, you cannot deny that there are a lot of times where a player is playing somewhat bad, and when
Listen,
you're a lot more
listen,
critical of
listen.
somebody, right?
Sometimes the Kool-Aid is spiked with vodka. Sometimes the Kool-Aid is spiked with arsenic.
I just want to. I'm just gonna say, last year you were not very kind on Josh Reynolds,
To start the season, correct. I do think that
which is when
helped
he
us
was the
get
hottest.
into.
Was in the start in the
I
middle of
do
that
I
season.
do think the Rams playoff game, we don't win that without Josh Reynolds. I am saying that right now, but whatever. Yeah,
We'll move
I
on from
agree
that.
with
But
what you're saying.
so
But you
so
suck.
the the playing part of camp was cool, and we got to see a lot of stuff that I'm glad that they opened it up to fans. I think there's more that they could do to make it a better experience. I don't understand the whole let's not be taking video and pictures at camp for fans because
That is one of my biggest
like
complaints.
I understand that you don't want to like leak stuff to other teams, but are you really like if you're open to the public, are you really running your full arsenal? Like, is it going to hurt you that much that someone posts a 15-second video
To
on
be
Twitter?
completely honest with you, they're not even running that stuff in
And people
preseason.
like
So
other
I mean, like
people allow it. The Chiefs welcome it. Like
the
they're constantly getting
the
footage.
I mean, yeah, all that is publicity, and it's good for them for the most part. But like two things. First of all, they run the same stuff they're running in preseason games,
Mm.
and that's all televised. So I mean, whatever. But the second thing I have to say is my biggest complaint about that is not being able to take videos or pictures. It's the inconsistency of what these guards or whatever
The security personnel.
was told, because it'd literally be someone would go on break, and then our good friend Jeff that we met there would tell us that we could take whatever we wanted. We could take pictures, we could take videos, we could do whatever. Don't know his last name, so I can't get him in trouble. But anyway, and then literally someone else would come over and they would like be literally like I don't even know the word, but they'd be yelling at people for taking any kind of video or having their phone up over the fence line, and it was crazy. So there's like, if you're not going to let us do it, then don't let us do it, but make it obvious to everybody. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. Well,
So,
we'll move on from that. So the last thing we want to talk about was our experience on the fence line, battling the children, pushing children down in order to get autograph. No, I'm just kidding. We got a lot of autographs, and we were in a prime position, and we got really lucky this time, like really lucky. Um,
yeah.
the first time we went, it was basically like I'm not gonna say no namers. I'm just gonna say like there were a lot of like second string guys and then like special teamers who came over, which you're not like fighting for their autographs typically, but we
No,
did.
we
We were
happy.
happy with that because we
Mhm.
got Jake Bates,
Yep.
we got Jack Fox. I know you like that. We got Ukwu's
I was happy about
signature,
Uku. Yep.
and we got Curb that first time.
Curb,
That was
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Curb is definitely the most consistent on signing autographs. That man's out there all the time signing
Yeah,
autographs.
I can't believe. I mean, I think he was the last one out there signing autographs again this time.
Yeah, he consistently
really
does it. Like he's all over signing autographs.
And the thing is, he makes it fun because he jumps around and people are like, "Oh, well, there goes Kirby Joseph, whatever," and then he'll literally like play it up to like, "Where am I going next?" You know, he'll stand back, and so he makes it really fun.
And
So,
this time we had quite a few A-tier starters that came up, and we got, and I'll show up. I'll just, you're not gonna be able to see it probably, but
yeah,
this is the side of the ball we got signed.
one MVP this year. This year's MVP has signed it. I'm not going to tell you which one I think it is, but
Yep, we've got Jared Goff came over and signed our ball. We got
JG.
Jared Goff.
Yep.
We got
Some guy named Pine Sewell.
we've got the best right tackle. Sorry, best offensive lineman in all of football.
Yeah,
which is Penei
Sewell.
Sewell. We got him signed. We got Jameer Gibbs came over and signed. He was rehabbing from that hamstring. I think it kind of fueled him to be a little more active with fans since he wasn't practicing. But
that was actually really good. Like, I think I was telling you this. Like, that felt good because we had just heard that he got hurt that Sunday or Monday. And then Wednesday we're there and he walks out and he's signing stuff. He's in good spirits and stuff. So, like, as somebody who's, I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm just saying as a fan, I'm going to get kind of like fan-ish here, but it was cool to see him and just like feel a little better about the injury because you didn't really hear much about it. So I was just like, okay, Gibbs is here. He's in good spirits. I feel really good about this. Yeah. So it was cool.
Yeah, and then the final one we got was a Meek. We got Meek Robertson's signature, and that was cool.
Yep.
I think we kind of hit the jackpot this time around. We didn't get signatures from a few other guys, but I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was literally right in our face, and signed a few people next to us.
And Amon-Ra was right next to me.
Hutch is very selective on who he signs, and a lot of the times it's the kids stuff, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that. Based on what we saw and who he was signing, I was not upset when he walked past us. I was okay with that.
So we saw him right up close and personal. He signed some stuff, and then we saw Amon-Ra. He ran past us and was high-fiving and stuff. So that was cool. Dak was out there signing stuff. He only did a small section before he moved on, but we did see Decker. Other than that, that's about all we saw. It was just a cool experience. It was cool to get out there. I'm not sure if I would do it again, living on this west side of the state and having to wake up at 3 a.m. in order to get there.
Yeah,
but
hit the road by 3. So
yeah, but it was fun. It was fun for sure.
He says he's not doing it again. I am going to drag him next year. I'm still going to do it, and he's going with me.
All right, we'll see about that. But I think that's about it for our training camp experience. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Honestly, really, the only thing I want to talk about, and we kind of already touched on it, but I just want to make sure that I throw this out there because this is the first time. I mean, seen Goff play, but this is the first time I've seen him so up close, and I'm talking like, anybody who's been there, where the fence line is. They were on that, the media side of the field, so they were right there. Jared Goff throwing absolute dimes over top of a defender and dropping it right into the basket of Amon-Ra St. Brown is an absolute sight to be seen. If you haven't witnessed that, that is absolute elite football. Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown is elite football. They are as advertised, and it's going to be, if everybody stays healthy, it's going to be a hell of a year. So
okay,
yeah.
So that's all we have for training camp. We're going to move right into talking about the second preseason game that just happened on Saturday. Lions came out with a nail-biting win against the Kansas City Chiefs, and no matter what the Chiefs do, it seems like they can't beat us. It doesn't matter if they're going to put in their starters against our second stringers; they still can't beat us.
Even with a dumbass behind the back pass or whatever, making up stories about how you were pissed off at Kelsey, it still didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So
how do you want to start? What do you want to start this off with?
I think first we should start by giving a word about our sponsors here. So let's go ahead and throw that in here.
This show is brought to you by Empire Contractors over here in Shelby, Michigan, on the west side of the state where we do our show, right along the lakeshore. Empire Contractors is a commercial roofing contractor who specializes in liquid-applied roofing restoration. Check this out.
They can clean your existing roof, make some minor repairs, and apply a new thick coating system over your existing roof, avoiding expensive and nasty tear-off, saving you about half the cost over other systems. Empire Contractors work the entire Great Lakes region.
Give them a call to see if your roof is a candidate. They can be reached at 231-861-7221 or by going to roofsbyempire.com. They are also on Facebook.
All right, and now that we have done that, I think we should start with basically what we think. I mean, what do you think what do you think our second string against their starters looked like? And I would even say not even second string, honestly, Brendan, because if you look at the cornerbacks that we had sitting out, we had almost like borderline like third string in there for cornerbacks.
Yeah,
we had like special teamers playing.
I think. First of all, I think it's rough to kind of gauge what happened there. Obviously, it looked like the Lions were pretty much having their way with the second or the first string of the Chiefs, but then again, the Chiefs aren't. We know the Chiefs aren't running their full arsenal.
Right.
We saw a lot of good things. It seemed like we were getting some good pressure. We saw some bad things. I think we still need to work on contain on a quarterback who's, scrambles a little bit, moves around the pocket. I think we get too caught up on that, let's just rush the passer. Oh, crap, he just ran around all of us.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's rough. I think we still have some work to do in the secondary. We saw Xavier Worthy cut us up. So.
I was waiting for that. I was going to say, I think we need to learn or do something different. If I don't know whether I didn't get a chance to look back whether he tore us up in zone or if it was man to man. But when you've got a speedy person, you need to make sure you know where he's at on the field and anticipate his runs, because that touchdown that he had I don't know 7 to 10 yards on anybody in the area.
Okay,
it was wide.
Why don't we start on the defense a little bit here? So, if you guys are following us on X, you'll notice that this week after the game, we did post a stock up, stock down type thing. I will go ahead and say that was all my guys right there. That was my stock up, stock down immediately after the game. Now, I don't know if Zach has any different ones. I'm going to welcome him to add or subtract or whatever he feels necessary to do. But I'm going to start. I'll name some of the defensive guys I talked about. So
okay.
We're going to talk about stock up on defense. Funny enough, I did 5 of each, right? I think there were a lot more that I could have, but the 5 that I talked about, I only had one defensive player who had a stock rising.
Yeah, and I was actually going to tell you that though. It's a good thing when whoever posts our stock up, stock down, and you include 10 people total. And there's so many more to talk about that people are engaging. Yeah. Like you left this guy out. That's a good thing, regardless. So
I think part of the reason was I took a lot of the guys that were just normal stock ups, and I think there were some guys that either made a slight tick up or they kind of made a lateral move. Like they look good and they good, so I'm not going to move them up or down.
Mm-hmm.
I think before I get to the main guy that I wanted to talk about, I think I would be remiss not to mention some guys like Isaac Ukwu? Yeah, mm-hmm. I always want to say Isaiah. Mm-hmm. Isaac Ukwu, he had another sack this week. Obviously he got a little banged up and it kind of affected his jump a little bit, I think, but still came up with a sack. I think next to him, also coming up with a sack that I want to talk about. I'm
gonna jump in real quick. I just want to throw this out there. Isaac Ukwu, I don't think he's gonna make the team, and here's why. My opinion. I don't think he makes the 53 because I think they're gonna go with Houston. But if it's very reminiscent, is what I'm trying to get at. Isaac Ukwu and James Houston on their first preseasons is very reminiscent. Like it just seems like it's the same player.
I think Ukwu is going to end up on our practice squad as one of those protected guys.
I hope he clears waivers so we can do so.
Well, no, they say I don't know the inner workings, but they do say that you can put guys on your practice squad in a protected spot and nobody can grab them.
Are you able to do that prior to 53 cuts and waivers, though?
Yeah, okay. Well, you do it at that same time, so you're going to waive people, but then you're going to designate like 3 or 4 guys or something like that.
So they don't
that
have to
are
clear
protected.
Waivers
They're
first.
Going straight to the practice squad.
Okay. All right.
So that's a possibility, but we'll see. I agree that I don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. I've got a bone to pick with James Houston still. I listening to what you just said, talking about riding the hype of guys and just having like a connection to what they've done for us in the past and not being able to let go of that, I think I need to start doing that with James Houston because in this league, it's a what have you done for me lately type thing. And James Houston, unfortunately, has not done enough to show me that he has a spot on this team.
So I'm going to agree with you there, and I'm also going to say what I saw and say that there's two possibilities. I don't know which one it is. He didn't even dress for a preseason game where literally 2 days ago I'm seeing reporters put out there that they don't think James Houston is going to make this 53. Again, reporters they don't know.
I did hear he was still rehabbing from an injury, so the choice to dress was not because he's a starter.
Is that his? That's my thing, man. I'm just saying, I am not an NFL football player. I don't pretend to be. I wish I could be, but I don't have those genes. But what I'm getting at is, what I heard was that he's rehabbing a bone bruise or a bruise of some sort.
That's what I also heard.
I do understand that there are things that are limiting and you don't want to make anything worse. But if you're fighting for a 53, if I'm fighting for a 53 and I have a 10% chance to talk the doctors into letting me dress, I honestly don't even care if I'm injured and I can't play. If I'm fighting for a 53 and the doctor says I can't play, I'm putting my damn pads on and standing there. I don't even care. Like, I'm not going to be seen on the sidelines in street clothes. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. And again, this goes back to last year. We heard James Houston might not make the team because he takes plays off and he's lazy when he's not in the backfield and he does all this stuff. Dude, I mean, if you're trying to make it, you got to make it. I'm just saying. I don't know the whole story. There is a caveat there. I might be making stuff up in my mind, but that just seems like, dude, you should be in pads.
So, yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time. We've already talked about it. I'm just saying at a certain point we have got to let go of the hype of James Houston and just look at him for what he has been for us, and that's a guy who it can be elite at times, but just cannot stay on the field and isn't consistent enough to regard a spot on the roster right now.
I don't know if he's like a Sam or a Mike or what he is, but did you see that we just, as we were coming down here, signed another linebacker?
Yeah, I did see that.
So I'm just curious on.
I don't think he's an edge rusher though.
Okay, I hadn't seen, so I wasn't sure.
Like I was saying though, there were some other guys I want to talk about before I get to the main guy that I had my stock rise on. But the other one was Matthew Betts. I think he did really good. He had a sack. He wasn't super consistent all the time, but I mean, it was good to see him get in there and absolutely bulldoze his way to the passer.
Matthew Betts almost murdered somebody in the backfield at Arrowhead Stadium. He absolutely almost murdered a quarterback. He smacked that guy. So that was cool to see.
The other one, obviously, I'll say is I didn't put him in there either, but Kendall Vildor. I think he had a good game, and it came right back off that good week of training camp that we talked about. So that was good to see. The guy that I did have my stock rising was a guy that actually just got put on this football team prior to that game, and it was linebacker Abraham Beauplan. No idea who that guy was going into the game, but he made a name for himself in that game.
And early, I remember seeing him, and I'm like, "Who the heck is this?" And I think we actually had to like look him up or something. But yeah, he, Marshall player. I don't really know much about him other than he balled out this week.
He went to he went to Marshall, and he signed. He was undrafted last year, signed with the Minnesota Vikings. And then he was.
So we saved him then.
Well, he was in two of Minnesota's preseason games last year before he ended up getting waived with an injury designation.
Well, to be honest with
and then
you,
he
it's
spent time
probably
on the Vikings practice squad.
To be honest with you, it's probably going to happen again. He probably will get a practice squad spot. I don't see him making a 53, but his stock did rise. He did have a very good game.
Yeah,
I just think he's too late.
I think he's more of just a camp body. Yep. I don't know much about it,
but he played well.
Yeah, so he was one of the brightest spots on defense for me. And that's the only guy I had on my stock rising list. Do you have anyone else you want to talk about before I keep on the defense and move to the stock down?
Yeah, I would say honestly, stock maybe rising just a tiny bit, and I'm talking for special teams, but because of what he's able to do, if we need him in there, and this, Brennan's gonna say I'm glazing because I'm a fan of his, but it's the truth. I think his stock is rising a tiny bit to make the team. I think Khalil Dorsey, uh,
No, I don't think that's glazing. I think he had a pretty good game.
he did have a good game. I think his speed is something you can't teach. I think as a gunner, he's great, and he also showed out pretty well in coverage during that game too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So stock down, I'm going to say the same thing. I really didn't have much to say on the stock down on defense. I think there were some guys that didn't really improve their stock, but I had one in particular whose stock dropped, and I got a lot of feedback on X for some of the guys I picked in the stock down category, and I want you guys to realize something. I don't care. No, I'm just kidding. I don't care what you think.
he is not kidding. I'm
Um,
just telling you, he's not kidding.
the bottom line of this is you can play well in a preseason game and still have your stock drop, and it's not necessarily because you didn't do enough, but it's because the guy next to you did more.
Yes, I
And
agree.
if you're fighting against the guys next to you, and if they outperform you, their stock rises, and as a direct correlation of that, your stock is going to drop.
Mm-hmm.
So Stephen Gilmore's stock dropped in this game, and you guys can say, oh, he had a good game, he had a good game. He didn't make many mistakes.
He played a regular game.
He played a decent game,
Yeah.
but he had some mistakes, and he had a big mistake there on one of those passes where they threw a ball to the sidelines, and he tried to jump the route, and he completely missed it, and
Yeah,
it
that
ended
was
up in a huge game for
good.
the Chiefs.
Yeah, that was not good.
And you just can't do that kind of stuff, especially when you're fighting for your life. I know you're trying to make big plays, and if that had gone well, then we would be calling him a genius, but it didn't.
Yeah,
So-
the I don't know. I guess like you're saying, you can't necessarily make those plays, but or take those chances in preseason. Um, I somewhat agree with that, but I also think that him taking the chances is good. It's a good thing. He's trying to show out, and like we are saying, he didn't have a bad game, so it's not like that ruined his stock that much. But what you're getting at is what I agree with. It's not a Stephen Gilmore thing necessarily. It's more of like
a Kendall Vildor thing or a Khalil
Khalil
Dorsey thing.
or yeah, right, exactly. Or somebody whose stock stayed the same because he's going to be on this 53 would be a Meek Robertson. I mean, just automatically unless he absolutely had a trash game, that's just what it is. So
where are you at with the rest of the defense? Because I'm ready to move to offense. I don't have anyone else to talk about on the defensive side of the ball.
honestly, yeah, I don't really have a stock down. I would honestly say outside of the sack that he had, I actually disagree with you on one of these stock up, stock downs. I actually have Matthew Betts with his stock going down, and it's for the same reason as Stephen Gilmore. I just think that's going to be a spot that I don't think he's going to make the 53 just because, someone like Davenport's going to be there. Or if he does make the 53, he's not going to start. I just don't think he's building his stock up. I'm not saying necessarily it's going down. I just don't think he's going to be able to build it up enough to where we're saying, okay, Matthew Betts stock up. That's
Oh
my
yeah,
opinion on
that's
that.
what I was saying. What I was saying was he wasn't a stock up guy. What I was saying was he
Okay, I
was
thought
a
okay.
lateral move or like a slight tick up kind of
Okay,
guy.
okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
He
Okay.
wasn't on my list.
I don't really have anything else. I was impressed with the defense again.
I think the conversation has to revolve around the offense though, because of what we saw. There were a lot of really good things that we saw out there.
There are a lot of very bad things too, though.
Yeah, yes, but I want to start with the good because I think that's always where you should start.
Yep. Yep.
There was a lot more good than bad this time, I think, around. We played a lot better offensively than we did in that first preseason loss where we failed to do anything on offense. Um, First, let's start with the quarterback, Hendon Hooker. Hooker played great. He did have the one interception, and that wasn't the best thing, but whatever. He made up for it for the most part. Ended up tossing a touchdown pass. I think he threw a touchdown pass, did he not? I think I might have missed that one.
I think he had a run actually. I think he had.
Oh, he did. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
He scrambled in. And there was a nice play to see him be able to use his legs a little bit without taking massive hit like
Yeah,
he did in the first game.
Sudfeld had that yak pass, and that was
Yeah, yeah, and
the
we'll get to
touchdown pass.
that.
Yep.
But Hooker played great. He showed great anticipation with his throws. He was making the right reads.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what you wanted to see from him as budding, quarterback too for us. I think he played much better than his counterpart, and like I said, I'm trying to stay on the positive, so we'll stay there. Do you have anything you want to say about Hendon Hooker?
About Hendon Hooker, um. So you're staying on the positive. You don't want to talk about quarterbacks in general.
No, I do not want to go down to him until we know we're gonna bag on Nate Sudfeld. He sucked.
Uh,
Whatever.
uh,
Let's move on.
okay.
Are you gonna put him in your stock up?
He's not stock up, but I don't think he's a stock down guy. I think if he's a stock down guy, it's because Hendon Hooker, again, like we're saying, played better than him. I don't think Sudfeld was as horrible as the first game. But anyways,
And I would agree, but I'm still not able to put him in anywhere but the stock down because he still looked like junk throwing.
So let's stay on Hooker. I'm with you. Stock up. And what's exciting to me about the prospect of Hooker, and this is a God forbid, I'm not saying I ever want to see this happen. Okay? If he's quarterback 2, God forbid, Jared Goff goes down for any period of time. I've seen this happen before where you've got a starting quarterback who's very good, and you've got a second string quarterback who's good or learning, but is so dynamic and so completely different from the first quarterback that it absolutely throws defenses off completely. And then this team ends up winning the game with backup quarterback. So it's exciting to me to see the versatility and the difference that he brings to the team. It's just a totally different dynamic. I love it.
Now there's 3 more guys I want to talk about on stock up to finish it off, and these are the 3 guys that I really want to talk about because they are the ones that had the most impressive performances, in my opinion. Let's start out with the most obvious one on offense, and that's Sione Vaki. Absolutely. If you didn't think he could get better from that first game when he showed us how shifty he was, it happened in this game. That man, the rushing yards weren't impressive, whatever, but he showed that burst and ability to maneuver and just find extra yards whenever he needed to. The thing that was most impressive was his pass catching, though. He was great, on dump passes and getting around the defense and finding his way to the corner and getting around guys. It was just impressive to watch, and it was encouraging because it shows to me when you listen to Dan Campbell talk, he's talking about guys emerging for that wide receiver 3 spot, and he's been quoted as saying that they're not necessarily, that doesn't mean that we're looking for a wide receiver to be that third guy. They're looking for that third guy that's going to be that guy that they can rely on to catch the ball and make yardage, whatever position that happens to come from.
Yeah, I agree. Vaki skyrocketed. There were times where I was wondering, is he going? Are we going to protect him on the practice squad just to start because I don't know, our other running backs. I mean, even Zonovan Knight, even Bam Knight. Like I was like, does Vaki really edge out Bam Knight? And then I saw him catch those passes, and there's zero doubt in my mind at this point. That dude isn't. That dude is a possible. Not gonna say I'm comparing him to him. I'm just saying the play type, very Christian McCaffrey like to me. Just the absolute, like, you could put him anywhere on that offense, anywhere, and he's a danger. He's a threat.
Yeah.
So
I won't put, obviously, I know you're not putting him
I'm
at
not
that
putting.
level,
Yes,
but
I'm not saying he's that tier. I'm saying that style of play.
he was impressive to watch, and to me it just confirms like the
Am I boring you?
No, it just confirms the talent evaluation of Brad Holmes because I read somewhere this week that when he was taking visits and evaluations and that the Lions were the only team to evaluate him as a running back.
I mean, if there's 31 dumb teams in the NFL, just say that.
Well, because he was trying out for so many positions, they said he did 4 different position drills on his pro day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I'm sure teams are trying to figure out where he would land best, and I'm sure a lot of people want safety or whatever they were going to do with him. But the Lions knew they wanted him as a running back, and that's where he fit best. And it's shown that that's where he fits best right now.
I mean, if you ever needed him again, special teams, he's there.
So
If you did in a pinch, you have him. You have a safety on offense.
yeah,
So
he had a great game. Another offensive guy that had a good game in my opinion was Isaiah Williams, and he built off the first good game that he had. This time he made it. I don't know. I understand that the Lions staffing really wants like a bigger bodied guy at that third receiver spot or whatever. This is kind of what they're trying to look for, which is like why Darius Fountain had kind of a leg up, I think.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know how you deny this guy a roster spot with what he did. He was catching.
Well, and even DPJ too. You're saying that size, and DPJ has a speed too. So
Yeah, well, he was, but Isaiah Williams was catching passes and making good gains out of them. The thing that really set him apart in this game, though, was his 1 second, I'm gonna sneeze.
you're
Ooh!
dying over here.
he had 6 catches for 71 yards on the day, which led the Lions in receiving. But the thing that was more encouraging to me was his effect on special teams, and he had some good return.
All right, let me do something while you're doing that. While you're trying to figure out your sneeze thing, I want to point something out, and you can build off of this because I'm building off of what you're doing. We're kind of piggybacking here a little bit. The one thing that I do want to point out here for real is I went to our other brother aside who's a Chiefs fan and an absolute Chiefs. I don't know what you want to say.
Glazer.
Yeah, a Glazer, I guess, but that's not even
Okay, well,
bad enough.
it's an
But anyway,
understatement.
everybody was like loving on what Xavier Worthy did in this game. Said he was versatile. When he ran the ball, he looked good. He caught the ball. He was fast. All right. Xavier Worthy, 1 rush, 11 yards. Isaiah Williams, 1 rush, 11 yards. Xavier Worthy, 3 catches, 62 yards. Did have a touchdown. He got wide open for that touchdown. Isaiah Williams, 6 catches, 71 yards. Who had the better game? And yet we're still over here loving on Xavier Worthy. Get out of here with it. Isaiah Williams is on a 53-man roster.
Well, what you're seeing here is that it's the splash play bias. He was more efficient.
In the first round bias. I mean, really. I mean, that's what it is. People have their eye on him because the Chiefs really need a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And
well, yeah, but what I'm saying is people when they see splash plays, no matter who you're putting up against who, if one guy has he's averaging 10 yards a catch, and one guy's averaging 20 yards or 30 yards a catch, obviously that guy's going to get more attention because he's making the sexy plays that people want to see.
Or he gets that wide open touchdown. That's what sticks with you. I get it.
So anyway, as I was saying before my sneeze started catching me off guard, Isaiah Williams had a good day on special teams. I know he did have that one time where he fumbled the football, and it was recovered by us, so it didn't matter much. But the return at the end of the game, he had a huge punt return at the end of the game that ended up setting us up in great field position to start moving the ball and getting into field goal range to set up Jake Bates, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is just you ask guys that are on the fringe who are probably not going to make this team at their regular position to start making plays elsewhere. And when you do something like that where nobody else is having success at returning that, I don't know how you deny someone like that a roster spot.
And I know that they're I think this plays into what to their saying, but I know they're kind of talking about injuries, but when their culture, Dan Campbell's culture is the best ability is availability, that right there is got to be part of what he's talking about. To be able to do that in the return game or whatever else, that does nothing but help you. So, yeah, I anybody saying Isaiah Williams is not a 53-man spot, I would be shocked if he isn't. I'm just throwing that out there. I would be absolutely shocked if he did not make this team this year.
I think we can finish this stock rising off with the obvious choice of Jake Bates. Obviously, everyone there's always going to be negatives with each of these guys that I've just listed. There's probably, aside from Vaki, and there's probably some negatives that you can talk about and something mixed in there where you can try and offset the positive, but it's just not going to work. Everyone's going to have a play or two where they didn't play well.
Yep, it happens. Yeah.
Jake Bates missed an extra point. Boo-hoo. He took 1 point off the board for us.
You going to say whose fault that was or no? You can say whose fault that was or no?
Yeah, it was Zach's fault because he came up to kick the thing, and Zach said, "I sure hope he doesn't do something stupid like miss an extra point or
I
something."
said, man, I really hope he doesn't miss this extra
And I
point.
said,
And
well, "Are you a freaking idiot? Shut your mouth!" And guess what he did? He shanked it to the left. Anyway,
what I was saying is, I'm a big fan. I don't want people to like hate on him because
yeah.
he's missing an extra point. That's what I'm saying.
Anyway,
He redeemed himself.
Jake Bates missed an extra point, but went 4 for 4 on field goals. So he took 1 point off the board with an extra point, but he added 12
Outdoors.
points. He added 12 points on the board and field goals. So I
Outdoors.
think that offsets. Not only did he add
Away from Ford Field.
Not only did he add 12 points on the board and field goals, going 4 for 4, but he nailed a 55-yarder, which beat his previous long in the last game, which was a 53, I believe. That's enough for me. But then you go back and you say, what else did he do? Well, how about nailing a 43-yarder to win the game against Kansas City in the loudest stadium, where I know there weren't a lot of people there, and you could see all the empty seats, but you could still hear the crowd. There was
Ice
still
in the veins, baby.
a lot of noise in that stadium.
That's still a high pressure situation. If there's like 5 people in the stadium, that's a high pressure thing. You've still got 90 people on either side with all the coaches and stuff watching you, hoping that you make it or miss it. So
I've seen everybody saying, that he's not going to make the team, and I just question, what else are we going to do? How are we going to?
What are we going to do? Take Riley Patterson off the Commanders when they cut him because he sucked ass in his game?
I just really don't want to go out there and.
Dan Campbell just got done saying that there's something about Jake Bates when they played their little foaling thing. He hit 2 last minute championship throws or whatever it was. I know that has nothing to do with his ability to kick, but I'm just saying that is his poise, that's his composure, and that's what I want in a kicker. We already know Jake Bates has the leg. We are calling him Legatron. It's going to stick. That's his nickname. Jake Bates is number 43 on the Detroit Lions for the year of 2024-25. I don't even need to say anything else.
Yeah, I don't think we need to sign anybody else to compete with him, and I don't think we should even entertain signing somebody off of the cuts that happen.
No reason. And then you know what's going to suck is there's going to be a spot where he misses a field goal against the Steelers coming up or something, and everybody's going to say, see, I told you, he sucked. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, man.
So Jake Bates, we spend time talking about Jake Bates because we love Jake Bates, and I think Jake Bates should be on this team regardless of
master.
Anyone else thinks. And he's proved himself. So whatever. Jake Bates is on this team whether you like it or not. So suck it up, Buttercup. Moving on to the stock down guys. I'm just gonna run down my list because I don't think we need to spend as much time picking apart these, right?
And you did have Jake Bates as your player of the game, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did as well, and it's on the ticker down below. We'll have that from now on. So
let's move on to the stock down. Okay, so I'm just gonna run through. I've already highlighted Stephen Gilmore, right?
Yep.
I've got 4 more guys to talk about, and I'm just gonna run down. I'm gonna give a point on each. Other than there's one that I want to extend a little bit further, but the other guys I'm just gonna give a point on here. Donovan Peoples-Jones has not played to his potential at all at any point this season. Continued to struggle this week. I think his route running was poor, and that not only made him look bad, but made Nate Sudfeld look worse than he was. And I think it led to some throws where people said, "Oh my God, Nate Sudfeld," and then I'm looking out there like, "What was DPJ doing? Where was he? Where was the route he was running?"
I'm not trying to one up you, but I'm just going to expand on what you said. You said he has not reached his potential or shown what his potential is at all this season. He has not shown it since he's been to Detroit. Mm-hmm. I mean, just that trade. If I had anything to say against the front office, that was a waste of a trade.
Yeah. So, stay in the wide receiver room. I think Jalen Calhoun nail in his coffin this week.
Yeah.
Nothing offensively. I'm not gonna say anything, but special teams. He looked Maurice Alexander-esque.
Another fumble lost.
They were just him. I think Maurice Alexander and him should both be cut, and that should be enough for Isaiah Williams to make this team because it's just neither of them have shown the consistency to be able to be reliable in the return game, and I just can't constitute giving them a roster spot.
Nah, DPJ needs to be cut.
I think Calhoun wasn't going to get a roster spot anyway, just for the record, but I think Alexander was pretty much a lock for a roster spot coming in, and I don't think he should be anymore.
Is I'm not gonna throw a name out there. I think you saw it today. Is Calhoun the one that a certain someone was saying was gonna make the 53 over Isaiah Williams? A certain someone on Twitter today.
I don't think so.
Okay, all right. I thought I saw
Okay.
that, but maybe it was Caden Davis that I saw.
Yeah, and Caden Davis is another one who had a great performance, and I didn't talk about him, but kudos to him. We
Did he?
saw, well, I mean, he had the splash plays. He played well.
Okay. I'm not. I'm
He's the
just
one
like.
that caught that deep bomb touchdown.
But 7 targets, 2 catches. Was it him or was it the quarterbacks or was
I
it the
think it was the
coverage?
quarterbacks.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Nate Sudfeld, I have stock down, and I don't need to explain myself. That man threw a good pass to Caden Davis, and Caden Davis did the rest. He did not. Caden Davis had yak for that touchdown.
I'm not. Again, we're going back to this. We're back on Sudfeld, and I'm just gonna say, as a complete Sudfeld hater, and have been for a while now, I I'm not mad at his performance. I think, like you alluded to with the DPJ route running, I think that we've got some receivers in the lower tier area outside of someone like Tom Kennedy, who we know can run a route and catch the ball. Obviously, Isaiah and Caden have been doing well. I think we've got some guys that can't run routes. And honestly, I mean, maybe I'm seeing, maybe the coaches are seeing something I'm not, and that might be the case. But I've seen nothing out of Dory's Fountain. I actually looked at a couple of his, even when he wasn't targeted. His routes are weird. I don't even know how to say it. It's not that they're bad or ugly. They're just not. There's something not right about them. So
So I'm leaving him in stock down. I don't care how many people try and talk him up, whatever. I don't care. There was no excuse for him this week. I don't care if your wide receivers aren't running the routes or whatever. Like he's throwing the ball and they're landing in the ground. They're not even like hitting the receiver. They're landing in the ground.
he is not a starting or
No.
even second string
And
caliber
in the
quarterback.
first week,
but
in the first week he had an excuse because the offensive line played like garbage.
and it was crappy rain
This
and it was
week,
whatever.
the
So
offensive line played extremely well. The only weak
much
spot
improved.
that I was not impressed with was Colby Sorsdahl again. And I'm not going to talk about him because
Nope, Manu improved.
yeah, I
He
think
was
some other
impressive.
guys stepped up, and that was good to see.
Yep.
There was no excuse for Nate Sudfeld, and he continues to show that he is not worth keeping on this roster. And I'm going to be mad when he does make this roster, and we're sitting there saying, "Why did we keep him when we could have given that roster spot to someone else?"
Well, yeah, there's going to be that is going to be my problem. Is he played better this game? Did he play awesome or even well? I don't know that he played awesome or well. I think he played better. It's possible that it was recency bias, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, he doesn't completely suck. It's possible that's all it was, but he did improve from the last game. It's not something I want to see as a product on the Lions
Yep.
for the on the field.
So let's finish this off with my last one, and that's Zonovan Knight. And this one was controversial. Got a lot of people saying that was a bad take on Twitter.
Including me.
And I agree with you guys saying that it was a bad. I agree with you guys saying it's a bad take at face value, but I think you guys need to look at the context of what I'm trying to tell you here. Yes, Zonovan Knight had a pretty good game on the ground, 8 carries, 36 yards, 4.5 average. Let me just tell you though, to me, coming into the season, you had Dave Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, and the rest of that running back room was wide open for you. I think maybe Craig Reynolds had a leg
Had a
up,
little bit of a leg up, yeah.
but I also think Zonovan Knight might have had a leg up, having some history with this team being young and dynamic. Zonovan Knight has not shown enough for me to have that spot, and Vaki, who was an unknown, has come in and completely surpassed him.
I agree. I agree to a point. So I agree with you the fact that first of all, let me say this. Zonovan Knight, in my opinion, did have a good game. I don't think his stock went down. I just don't think he did enough to make his stock rise. But other people, again, here we are. You've got Gibbs and Monty who are a shoe-in. It's not happening that anything happens to them as far as this 53. They're on it. Vaki has absolutely solidified himself over top of Zonovan. And from what we're hearing in camp, Craig Reynolds and Jamar Jefferson have both got a leg up on Zonovan Knight from camp. So, again, I'm not seeing that. That's what I hear. So I agree with you that his stock isn't above any of them, but I also don't know that it can go down any farther just because of where he's at on this roster, I
Yeah,
guess is what I'm saying.
Jamar Jefferson. I still don't think he's gonna make this
I don't think
roster.
so either, but I think he's a step above Zonovan at this point. I think.
If it were me, I'm going to keep 4 running backs on this roster, and Zonovan Knight and Baki would both make it. I don't think Craig Reynolds should make this team.
Really?
I don't think Craig Reynolds is great, and Craig Reynolds makes like 1 or 2 plays every year that everyone like feeds off for the rest of the year and just thinks he's great or a good depth piece to have. And I don't disagree that he's a good depth piece to have, but Craig Reynolds is getting older, and Zonovan Knight is still young, and he was a star when he was playing with the Jets. He had star quality when he was playing with the Jets. I don't know why we don't keep him. And this is I'm starting to sound more positive about Zonovan Knight. It's because it is. I don't hate Zonovan Knight. I just think his stock dropped because of the players around him this week. And I think also I backtracked myself a little bit. I gave him a bit of a knock because of the fumble that he had.
Yeah.
It was not his fumble.
Bad timing.
No, that was not his fumble. That was Hendon Hooker's fault. You could tell from that.
The handoff was botched.
The snap, Hendon Hooker never fully had that ball, and he just kind of
tried to hand it
in his hands.
Yeah, it was like this handoff. Yeah, I saw that.
It wasn't even that. Like he was. Let me see. He was more like this.
Don't smudge my autographs.
Hendon Hooker had it. He caught it, and then he tried to hand it off, and it was like this.
Yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly. So I just want to say real quick about the Craig Reynolds thing. I want to throw this out there because I've seen people saying something about like I've seen a person say trade Khalif Raymond.
No.
Be very careful about people like Khalif Raymond. Obviously, we're saying no to that one. Be very careful about Craig Reynolds. Craig Reynolds is one of those glue guys. And if you can choose between him and Zonovan Knight, who most likely neither of them are going to get more than 20, 30 touches in a season, you need to choose the glue in a team like this. I understand what you're saying. He's young. Zonovan Knight is young. He was a very good player for a while for the Jets for a season or part of a season, but he's a glue guy and he's a locker room guy, and I think Craig Reynolds should be over him because of the lack of usage that either one of them are going to get. I would rather have the guy that's got the experience and can, just be the glue. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you have the last word there because I think
it's really not worth arguing too much about
it
RB4. Yeah, I get you.
So that's it. That's all we've got to say about this week on that Chiefs game. Unless you have something you want to wrap it up.
One person I just want to throw out there. His stock can't go any higher, but he's cracking the glass ceiling. Jack Fox. 71-yard punt. There's a reason why there is zero fear of Jack Fox, not making the team or somebody coming in. He is the best punter in the game right now.
How about Jack Fox sticking it to the team that cut him?
Yeah, that was pretty sweet too.
So that's all we need to talk about. But so obviously, we weren't the only ones that played this weekend, and we need to talk a little bit about the rivals in the NFC North. We are not going to spend as much time talking about them because I don't really care. The Minnesota, I'm going to be honest. Minnesota Vikings game, did not watch.
Absolutely a team that's absolutely reeling right now.
I did not care to watch. They ended up they beat the Browns 27-12, right?
Yeah. But
I didn't really care to watch. Honestly, I'm going to tell you the only reason I cared to watch Minnesota Vikings preseason was to see J.J. McCarthy. And now that he's out for the year, I don't have any interest.
Right, which we're not breaking any news, but obviously we haven't said it since the last episode we had. J.J. McCarthy did find out that he's out for the season this year.
Yep.
So.
And I saw some guys talking about this on social media. I cannot believe the absolute gauntlet the Minnesota Vikings run through at the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah, but our gauntlet's at the end. So
okay, but listen to this. They have a few games that we don't. They start the season against the Giants. Okay, that's a very winnable game, right?
Win,
right? They play the 49ers, the Texans, the Packers at Lambeau, the Jets, the Lions, the Rams, the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, the Bears, Cardinals, Falcons, Bears again, Seahawks, Packers, Lions.
Yeah, so that
rough
is at the beginning
brutal schedule.
Just a little caveat because you said the Giants. Oh man, I hope I'm. We're not going to go any farther than this. I hope they get Malik Neighbors a quarterback other than Daniel Jones because that guy is an absolute star in the making.
I'm going to be honest with you too, though, and I think it's a winnable game for the Vikings. I don't know if they win that game though, because I don't know if they can stand up to the defense of New York, regardless of what you want to say about New York's offense. Do you really have faith in Minnesota Vikings to stand up against Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and Kayvon Thibodeau?
No, no,
Yeah,
not with a second string quarterback making decisions.
yeah. I think it's going to be rough for them this season. That's all I want to talk about with them. Let's move on to the Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers, who everybody, not everybody, but there were people saying still a good coach, but everybody wanted to say Matt LaFleur was a better coach than Dan Campbell. Yet Matt LaFleur got all upset and he actually started calling actual NFL regular season plays because he was pissed off because his offense couldn't move. So he went into his actual playbook to try to do some stuff and still didn't do it.
Yep. The Green Bay Packers, for context, lost to the Denver Broncos 27-2. Obviously, that means their only points came on a safety.
It makes me happy.
Just obviously their starters didn't play. They left it a lot of room for the backups to try and get things going, and Sean Clifford did not produce, and neither did Michael Pratt, their quarterbacks.
The one thing I want to say about that game, and again, I'm going kind of away from the Packers. The Packers were absolute trash in that game, and it's backups. I get it. But I think they were so trash that I can't tell whether Bo Nix or Stidham is a better quarterback at this point because they both looked absolutely masterful against the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Packers let Zach Wilson score touchdowns.
There's that too. Yeah.
But the last thing I'll say there, and this isn't Packers related, but Bo Nix is going to win that starting job in Denver, and I think he's going to be the best rookie quarterback out of the crop.
I think I said that before the draft, my friend.
Yep. So that's all I want to talk about. Packers suck. What else is new?
The Bears.
Moving on to the Chicago Bears.
Speaking of teams that suck.
The Bears won 27-3 against the Bengals. Let's talk about this in context. We had absolute ridiculous glazing of Caleb Williams and his 50% completion rate for 75 yards.
I had somebody
and no touchdowns.
One rushing touchdown.
Yeah, no touchdowns passing. I mean,
you
know who else could rush for touchdowns? Justin Fields. Let's see how that ended up.
Yeah, literally there was a post that said something about.
I know, I saw you. Yeah.
No. Who does he remind you of? And I posted Justin Fields, but which is very true. I'm not. That was not like a dig. I'm very serious. Like that guy's gonna be like the love that even the Bears fan base is giving him is just very reminiscent of about 3 years ago. So that's all I'm saying there. I literally read something that made me laugh so hard. I actually sat upstairs and laughed out loud for real. Somebody said it's going to be crazy when Caleb Williams is in the MVP race as a rookie.
No, we already saw that this year. You think he's going to outplay C.J. Stroud last year?
No.
Yeah. No. Here's all I'm going to say about Caleb Williams is the glaze continues. There literally was not anything that I saw that impressed me all that much from that game. I think the funny thing to talk about here is the fact that they went against the Bengals' first-team defense, I believe, in the start of that game, and they went 3 straight 3-and-outs. It was not until the Bengals pulled their starters that the Bears finally started moving the ball, and then we got people saying, oh my gosh, Caleb Williams is going to be great this year. Yeah, Caleb Williams got shut down by a starting NFL defense and then looked like an exceptional athlete against an NFL second-team defense. Great for him.
Yeah, and they are who we thought they were. I mean, Eberflus continues to have an offense that runs these little like check down screen passes, and then they rely on the yak. And yeah, that's going to go for a touchdown once in a while. That's going to happen. But it happened with Justin Fields too. Yeah. So run that offense all you freaking want. You're not going anywhere.
By
7
by
wins
the way,
at the most.
Caleb Williams got outplayed by his backup Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent was 7 of 8 for 87 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. So he also had 1 carry for 10 yards, which was more than Caleb Williams had on his 1 carry for 7 yards. So he's probably playing the same defense for a good portion of that. Caleb Williams got outplayed by his backup, and we're still glazing Caleb Williams for some odd reason.
He's going to win the MVP, guys.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Anything else? Caleb Williams is a bust, and I will die on that hill, and it will not get any better for you Bears fans.
If the 1% of Caleb Williams that, obviously nothing's 100% until it's completely done and over with, but the 1%, if he does show out, that's great. The 99%, it's going to, as a Lions fan, it is going to be, his fall from grace is absolutely going to be amazing, and I'm going to be all over every single social media, and I will be an absolute complete asshole to Bears fans because they are so obnoxious right now, so insufferable. I cannot wait. I am waiting on that downfall. Cannot wait.
Well, we have set our piece on all three of the trash teams other than the Great Lions in the NFC North.
Right.
Let's move on to the final segment of this show where we are going to just take a look at next week. We've got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town for the final preseason game. Thoughts?
Do you want to give a guess for a preseason score or not really? Is it really worth it at this point in that third game? Everybody's just playing for that 53.
I'm gonna say Lions win it 21-10.
Oh, you're very close. For real. I have 24-9.
Okay.
Yep. So we're very close on that. Okay.
That's stemming off just me looking at what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done so far. They have played the Bills and the Texans, and in the Bills game this week, they only scored 3 points and lost 9-3. This Texans they played the first game, they lost 20-12. Their offense is cooked. Their defense will continue to be great. Their offense is a absolute mess.
Their defense will continue to be great. Their offense has Justin Fields on it.
Yeah, so we're gonna probably see a little bit of Justin Fields and a little bit of Russell Wilson, I would expect.
Who do you think wins that starting job for real? Seriously,
I think Mike Tomlin would be smart to give it to Russell Wilson just because he's the veteran guy, and that's going to save your job a little bit. Because if you give it to the guy who's a proven Super Bowl champion and let him fail, and then you say 3 games or whatever, give him an audition type thing, 3 games, see how you do. If you suck, then we're putting Justin Fields in.
Then you let the next guy fail.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be that one. I'm not so excited about the fall from grace because he is probably the corniest cornerback I've ever seen in an NFL jersey. But I still kind of liked, I kind of liked him. I liked Russ.
Steelers country, let's weld.
Have you seen his failed Subway commercials from back a couple of years ago?
No.
They're spicy. It's spicy.
I don't know.
You're gonna have to watch it. It's crazy stupid.
So, that obviously Russell Wilson played 8 of 10, 47 yards passing in the last game. Not impressive. Justin Fields, 11 of 17 for 92 yards. He was still Justin Fields, though. I really wasn't that impressed. We're going to have to contain the run, and that's going to be a good test for us because we already know what Justin Fields has done to us in the past.
So, one point and then one question, and then I think we could probably wrap this up. The point I wanted to say is preseason game at Ford Field. We only got one of them this year. Standing room only. Mm-hmm. They are at standing room only for a preseason game. Good job, Lions fans. One Pride Nation. Love to see that. That is awesome. Cheer those guys on like it's a regular season game. The second thing is there anybody for the Lions that you're still kind of looking at to, this is the last one. So is there anybody you're watching that's kind of on that fringe? Who you watching?
Yeah, I think there's three position groups that are still battling hard that could make or break their case this week, and that's the defensive line.
Yep.
I don't care who it is on that defensive line. There's still room to be had. There's still a fight to be had there. I think the defensive secondary is the same way. I think there's still a fight to be had there. The final one is the wide receiver room. There's still a fight to be had there. We will see if Isaiah Williams continues his undoubted success in the preseason, and if that pushes him towards a roster spot, or if someone else surpasses him or solidifies their spot, like if Darius Fountain for some reason has an incredible game and ends up sticking his spot, or DPJ, or we'll see if Caden Davis has another good game.
Right there. So that's the one I'm watching. It's Ukwu on the edge. I want to see what he does, and I know we've already kind of said that he's probably not going to make the 53, but he might be on the practice squad protected. I want to see him continue to have success, and then maybe turn into that project guy again. Davenport goes next year or whatever. We have him on the edge. We'll see how that goes. The other one is between, for me, I think that spot for wide receiver is between Isaiah Williams and Caden Davis for me, and I think it's going to be Isaiah Williams. I hope he shows out again. I hope he's the leading receiver again. We will see what happens.
All right. Well, that's it for us this week, Lions fans. We got some good talking in. We talked about what's happening, and I think we basically covered just about all of our thoughts on these players and what we think is going to happen. And next week we will get the kind of the final test to talk about, and we'll kind of maybe make some predictions on cuts, who we
Yep.
think is going to make that roster or not.
Jared Goff is an elite quarterback, and he will win MVP this year.
All right, that's it for us. But before we go, as always, we need to sign off with the signature "Go Lions."
Go Lions, baby.